Hello everyone, my name is Jarrell Green. I am a member of Team Australia. This briefing outlines the lessons learned following the cyber attack related events experienced during the recent global summit. Today we are going to give a recap of the events that took place. Next we are going to discuss the recovery activities that took place following the cyber attack. Then we're going to discuss the strengths of the incident response and areas of improvement. Finally, we are going to discuss the recommendations to further improve the capability to respond to cyber threats and harden the network. First, we want to go over the chain of events that helped lead us to this point. The cyber incident was a Reventon ransomware attack that was launched after an employee received an email containing an Excel document that was disguised as a file that was deemed to be reliable. Once the employee opened the document, they were prompted to update the file to access the contents. The employee then enabled the ransomware program that locked all the files on their workstation, as well as all of the shared files throughout the Five Eyes Nations network. Additionally, during the investigation, 5 USB drives were found, with one having partitions that were added using a Linux system. Because the device had partitions, it is impossible that the device was formatted using a Windows operating system. This was also evident during the laboratory investigation, where the attacker script.txt file showed that CentOS was used to develop the ransomware executable and related files. Finally, it became apparent that 2 members of the team went missing for over 5 days, making them potential accomplices for the successful execution of the attack. It also became apparent that Penelope Ann Gerschultz experienced blackmail, which she reported and was dismissed. Subsequent investigations also revealed that it was possible that Ms. Gerschultz was either an accomplice or a vector for which the attack was launched. Next, we are going to discuss the recovery efforts. Following the cyber incident, Team Australia took a multi-phase and methodical approach to addressing the events that took place. First, the team focused on detection, in which it confirmed the presence of the ransomware amidst the reports of denial of service reported by members of the Global Summit. Next, using Wireshark, Team Australia was able to capture how the attack happened, what port it happened over, the URLs associated with the attack, and other pertinent information needed to effectively respond. Once the relevant data was obtained, we used Oathcrack, our secret encrypt tool 2, to break the hashes and passwords associated with the ransomware malware. Using this information, we were able to decrypt the ransomware without having to pay the ransom amount. Eradication was the process of implementing snort rules to further detect any other presence of malware following the decryption. It has also included restoring the files and the server to the last known good backup. Lastly, the investigation leading to the procurement of evidence tells us the story of the events that were conducted. There are several strengths that can be deduced from how Team Australia responded to the cyber incident. First was the diagnosing and containment of the ransomware following the notification. Team Australia responded with a great deal of efficiency following the notification of a possible cyber incident. Using the tools at our disposal, we were able to identify the malware, determine how it affected the network, pertinent information about the ransomware, and information needed to encrypt and eradicate it. Additionally, information sharing was at the forefront of Team Australia's response, ensuring that each of the Five Eyes nations were aware of the events as they were unfolding. Next, using Snort, Australia was able to further mitigate the possibility of subsequent attacks with the use of software-based rules. These rules also set up a notification system if the predetermined conditions were met on the network. The delineation of responsibility was also a strength for Team Australia. The incident response team consisted of several different positions that each had a specific role and function within the team. This leads to the effective response efforts that are not hindered by confusion or lack of purpose and direction. Lastly, because of the successful delineation of responsibilities, discrepancies in the form of missing employees and displaced USB drives became integral in understanding how and why the attack took place. Although there are several strengths that can be identified, there are also several areas of improvement that need to be addressed. Network monitoring, including intrusion detection and prevention, is integral to hardening any network. Team Australia during the Global Summit lacked this capability, leading to them missing many attack indicators that could have allowed them to prevent this type of attack from happening much earlier in the process. Next, as seen with the incident, users serve as a critical vulnerability point, especially if they are unaware of basic security measures and controls. Had the user been trained properly on security, the notification of a probable cyber incident could have been received once the email was received. Personnel accountability was also an issue spotlighted during the cyber incident. The fact that personnel with access to the network were missing for such a long period of time without accountability is unacceptable. Additionally, the ability of the attacker to infiltrate the network over port 80, a port known to allow unauthenticated attackers to execute commands to a web server, shows the lack of port security that is present on the network. This is combined with the lack of encryption strategies that allows the attacker to see the contents of the files that they encrypted. Next, physical security was also an issue on multiple occasions. First, it was possible that the equipment belonging to Ms. Schultz was compromised, leading to the possibility of attack. Next, there were USB drives that were unlabeled, with one being left by the server, which also indicates that someone had unmonitored access to the server. Finally, authentication, like encryption, was also lacking on the network. This was also evident because of the attacker's ability to attack without having the proper credentials. All the events that occurred during the incident led to the following recommendations. First, it is recommended that Team Australia implement software and hardware security controls that further hardens the network. Like seen with the use of Snort, the implementation of these security controls minimizes the attack surface an attacker can use to launch an attack. Second, it is recommended that the team increases authentication strength in the form of multi-factor authentication. This is based on the principle that in order to access the network or any files, you have to provide a combination of who you are, what you know, or what you have. This adds an extra layer of security because of the need of more than one form of validating identity. Third, physical security must become paramount, especially when dealing with sensitive information. This can also be combined with access control, ensuring that only those with a valid need to know can access only the information they are cleared to have. Additionally, the streamlining of information sharing efforts along with the formalization of reporting and notification systems can speed up the process of responding to cyber incidents, especially of this magnitude. Finally, because users have such a large influence on the security of a network, it is recommended that Australia enforce security education and user training programs to educate employees on the use of the network and how to spot and report suspicious network activity.